Hello again, and welcome to another session of the 18th annual Transforming the Teaching and Learning Environment virtual conference. I'm Bob Hales. I'm your moderator. We have with us today Jason Johnson, Christina Emberton, and Kamar Afra. Did I pronounce that correct, Kamar? Good, thank you. Um, their session is the dog wagging the tail. And you can't see it, but maybe my black lab laying on the bed behind me will find this interesting. Leading healthy and sustainable ed tech adoption for higher ed online departments. So let me turn it over to you three, and you can further introduce yourselves.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, we try to provide a little bit of something for everybody. So hopefully your lab will get a little something out of this. We do feature a couple dogs on the slides, but yeah, thanks for the invitation to do this. This is the dog wagging the tail, leading healthy and sustainable ed tech adoption for higher ed online departments. I am Jason Johnston. I'm the executive director of online learning and course production at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And I'm joined today with Chris Emberton. Chris, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. And Amar, do you want to advance to the next slide? There you go. See, I have to read what I do, so I have to have everything up there. So I'm Chris Emberton. I'm the Director of Interactive Learning Technologies here with Digital Learning at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And Amar, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, my name is Amar Afra, and I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Tennessee, and I'm also the Graduate Research Associate for Digital Learning at UT.
Thank you. And, uh, you know, I don't want you to feel like you have to say anything, Nikki, but where are you located, if you don't mind?
Yeah, 100%. I am an instructional designer at Auburn University, so I'm also in the SEC landscape.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to come up with a name probably by the time, probably right after we finish the presentation, I'll come up with the name of the one person I know or that I've connected with down at Auburn who he kind of headed up some of the AI literacy stuff. I know that you had a big kind of
Yeah.
AI.
Is it Dr. Asim Ali?
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we're housed, Auburn Online is housed under the Big EO Center and he's the director. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, excellent. Well, great. Well, it's nice to have you. You guys do great work.
Thank
And
you.
it's nice to, we're all fight when it comes to the football field, but we're all collaboration, when we
100%.
when we
Yes.
get together with other instructional designers and people
Mhm.
that are trying to do the same work. So it's good. Well, Nikki, you should feel free to interrupt at any point, okay?
Okay.
We are literally here for you.
Okay.
And and so if if there's anything that you have a question about, we'll kind of keep on cruising here, but we'll probably mostly we're going to do a little Kahoot things. We didn't know how many people were here, but honestly, if you're up for unmuting and just talking to us, we would love that. So as we move along. So we're at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, as you know. The and we're located in a central department called Digital Learning. So we are not our IT department, which we call OIT. So in our department, really what we focus on is online learning. And so it's like having a centralized online learning department, as you're familiar with. Um, and so our IT department really typically manages all our technologies across campus. So they manage our LMS and anything that is campus wide that's available for every class, hybrid or in person. So as we focus on the online only, we support specific courses and programs that are specifically online. And so in this presentation, we're going to be looking at why we needed a vetting process, um, and then the framework that we use for tool adoption, and then an overview of our internal process and basically a case study or a couple case studies of how we kind of move things along. So maybe instead of our Kahoot, Chris, although I really do you, what do you want to do, Chris? Do you want to do the Kahoot since you got it set up?
Well, we could pull it up because there's a few tools on
Okay.
there for ideas.
Okay, that's
And
good.
so we built this in just to ask some questions about what's being, what might be used out there. And I'll get it up here in just a second. I can move it up there. Okay. Nikki, by all means, you do not
I
have
got you
to
guys.
log on if you don't want to. But we'll just, oh, I think somebody has to.
I got it. Give me 1 second.
I'm going to just to have.
Poor Nikki, she joined us thinking she was going to be able to lay back and
I
eat her
know.
lunch.
Well, we just finished the lunch break, so
Mm.
but I'm excited.
Oh, good, good.
Oh, that's so fitting for me because I'm getting ready to go to Japan. So I have the
Perfect.
Japanese dragon for my. Okay. How do I keep going here?
I think you hit the start on the right-hand side there.
Oh, it was covered with all of you. There we go. Okay, so basically, we just wanted to ask kind of what tools you might be using and if you've got a tool vetting process. So when it comes up, it's going to have, which of some of these EdTech tools maybe you used or if you haven't used any. So we could just kind of talk about it. If there's any that you've used, Nikki, that you're familiar with.
Yes. Typically here at Auburn, we use the Microsoft ecosystem. So Canva is not technically vetted, or I don't believe it is. I'm unsure. And then I think we use You Do It via Canvas LMS instead of
Okay.
Ally.
Okay. So it's kind of like Ally.
Mhm.
We use pretty much all of these at some point. And then the next question was just kind of about if you even have a tool vetting process or if you just wing it. Now we do.
I haven't personally used it. That's not typically
Okay.
in my role. That's not typically something that I undergo, but
Okay. So that just kind of gives us an idea of like, what you're familiar with, and this might be all new. So this could really, I mean, even if you don't go into the extent that we have, just having some kind of framework, which we're going to go over, might just be helpful as you're picking tools. Um, and Jason, I think it goes back to you if you want to
Yep,
go over this slide.
yep. So while we're a pretty new department at University of Tennessee, so we've really I was hired, um, I guess about three and a half years ago now, and I was like hire number 13. Chris was here a couple years before me. Um, And so what we found really is that because we house really most of the instructional designers and we work with people online here at UT, we found that we were just kind of getting inundated with requests for tools,
Mhm.
both from our subject matter experts, but also from our IDs, right? They wanted to try different things and we wanted to get things rolling. And there's so many of them, as you know, like there's a zillion tools out there that you could use. And so we just felt like that we, on one side, didn't want our digital pedagogy to be limited to just what our LMS gives us, right? We wanted to be open, or just what OIT kind of vetted for us for all of campus, because sometimes that can be very expensive as well as they don't necessarily are always open to the things that we want to move forward. Um, And we recognize at the same time that every technology you introduce has its own affordances and limitations. And so this kind of brings us to this kind of a place where we didn't have a systematic way to vet these tools of coming in. And this idea of the dog wagging the tail, where, you've heard this phrase where the tail is wagging the dog instead. We wanted to be, versus the tools kind of driving the things that we were doing, we wanted to be the ones kind of more in the driver's seat to drive what tools we vetted and used in our courses that we were trying to develop, especially as we developed more and more. So, because of that, then, and we can move on to our framework, we came up with this idea of this of kind of like what was important to us. And Chris is going to go into each one, and I don't even need to read through all these. You can kind of see the movement here, but really we wanted to come up with a systematic way. And as an instructional designers, we love a good system, right? This is like core to what we do, because we know we have to have a system, especially if we're dealing with a lot of if we're trying to scale things, we're trying to deal with a lot of people, a lot of data points. And so we came up with this systematic process where we could take a tool and essentially kind of step it through these different points to think about whether or not it was something that we wanted to use inside of our system. And then I'll pass it over to Chris.
So yeah, you can see our framework here, and I just go ahead. That's fine, Amar. So just before we get started, I wanted to make sure that we recognize, where we've pulled. Well, the framework, Dr. Johnston and I worked through, but we're going to explore a rubric that we developed, and then also the actual vetting process and kind of the testing that we do. These are some of the resources that we use to help me and Amar develop the actual process and the testing. So I just wanted to recognize that, and now we work with Vol Books and our own IT department to really support us in getting these tools implemented. So we'll start with the essential, and obviously, this is the what and the why. And, first we just want to figure out what it's going to be used for. This basically means, like, is it STEM related? Is it an AI tool? What is it supporting? Tutoring? Is it presentation development for the faculty to use to build something for their course, or is it going to be used into their course? And the why part would be, exactly what I just said. Like, is it learner interaction or engagement, or is it a tool that's helping the faculty build something? So we also have in digital learning something called the Engaged Online Course Rubric. And this is our version of kind of Quality Matters. It's a standards that our courses our faculty can select to go through. So sometimes the why also is meeting some of the standards in that. Like, we have a standard that's help learners actively engage in the learning process rather than passively absorb information. And tools can help us do that. Interactive tools can help us get students engaged. So that's a good why. Then, we look at, is it already being used? Like, are there departments that are already using the tool? And so would it seamlessly be able to work into our LMS? And we also explore, why are they using it? And that really does help. Then the success stories, this is something where we look at other institutions. So are other institutions having success with it? And we really try to reach out, and we've talked to other universities and explore what their feedback is. So those kind of match up to how a tool we can analyze if it's essential. So the next part would be usable. Now, Amar, I've built this where there's a bunch of,
Bob's got a question in the chat.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So the suggestion of the tool. So it really can come from multiple sources. most of the time what we're vetting are faculty needs. Like if the faculty wants a discussion tool that's different than Canvas and they want something with a variety, or it's they've come to us. A lot of times it's our own instructional designers that come to my team and say, hey, this instructor's been using this tool and wanted to know, they've told another instructor, and now this other instructor wants to know if it's something that's offered through UT Canvas wide, globally on Canvas. So that's usually how it comes about. Other times it's been tools that my team are using. Usually that's like e-learning authoring tools or presentation tools. And we just know that it would save time for instructors. So it kind of comes from both, but usually it's the faculty. So faculty driven. Okay, so does that answer your question, Bob? If not, just stick it in there and we'll talk about it some more.
It does. Thanks.
Okay. So the usability is, does it work? Obviously. Is it user friendly? Is it easier? Is it easy to use? Does it bring joy? Like, does it frustrate you or does it bring you joy? Does the end result bring you satisfaction? And then the next part of usability is enhanced learning. So you're gonna have to click through this for me, Amar. So obviously it needs to enhance learning in some way, kind of back to that essential and meeting some of the quality standards. Is it enhancing learner to learner interaction? Is it enhancing student to instructor interaction? How is it, is it taking away from that passive learning and making it more engaging? The next part would be hypermediality. And yes, I looked this up. This is an actual word. And this is actually meaning integrating multiple forms of media, whether it be text, images, audio, video, animations, any other kind of interactive elements within a digital environment. It's really what I like to look at it too is the tool, are the learners able to navigate through an activity and content in a non-linear way? So that would, these are things that we want to look for in a tool, kind of depending on what the use case is. Obviously, if it's an e-learning authoring tool, that's really important. If it's a presentation tool, we just really want to make sure it can engage, embed videos or animations, things like that. And then our next one is being reliable and mobile design. So this is, reliability on the functioning and the continuing running of the tool. Are there frequent technical issues? And this is the important things with going back to like checking with other institutions. What's the feedback from them? Have they had problems with responsiveness in the tool working in mobile devices? Does it function between a desktop version and function the same on a mobile device, or what kind of learning curve would there be? So yeah, if it's difficult to use, it's not really going to provide real value. And our next piece of the framework is accessibility. And Amar, if you want to go ahead and just pop those up there. These are kind of the important admin parts of bringing a tool on board. Does the vendor provide a VPAT, which is, it is a standardized document which evaluates how accessible the technology product is for users with disabilities. And it discloses how compliant a tool is with different levels of WCAG. And which takes us to the WCAG, how compliant is it? We want it to be level AA, and we want to meet those standards for accessibility. And with this check, we want to make sure that it also integrates with assistive technology. Does it access and does it have alternative formats? So I think that's self-explanatory. Does the access require only standard equipment, or does it have to have some kind of special equipment? We want to make sure that it integrates into, or it makes available captions and transcripts and alternative text. And then, optimizing for low vision. Does it have a dark mode? Is it flexible with text and zoom? And then finally, neurodiverse learners. We want to make sure that the navigation of the tool is not overwhelming or stimulating. We don't want any blinking lights and highlights and things like that that could affect a neurodiverse learner. And the next part of the framework is it responsible? And you could go ahead and click this one too. So we're looking at our data protection and privacy. Does it comply with FERPA? Ethical considerations, are they transparent? Is AI being used responsibly? And we want to make sure that students are aware of how their data is being used. Does the tool allow for proper attribution of content? And then also just a social well-being, social presence and safety. Is there some kind of built-in flag or, especially if it's an AI, we want to disclose that if there's some kind of AI process to look for cyberbullying or harassment. If the students, are the student interactions moderated or monitored when necessary? And then part of the responsible would be the HECVAC and receiving this from the vendor. So HECVAC stands for, and I have to read this because it's the Higher Education Community Vendor Assessment Toolkit. So just some of the things that it analyzes is the change logs, product and services, the architecture, disaster recovery. So obviously this is what the vendor needs to disclose before we can even consider looking at the tool. We want to make sure this is covered. Sometimes I haven't gone into it here in our slides too much, but because I think it's going to start being required, but a SOC 2 is also something that's a security document that they need to provide. And then the next part of the framework is adaptive. Does it work well with your current LMS? Does it work outside of the LMS? And to be adaptable, it needs to support evolving pedagogical approaches with the tech trends. Like I said, does it integrate well without disruptions? Is it flexible across devices and instructional models? So basically, how much can it be used across different types of disciplines? Or is it a very narrow focused tool? Which is not necessarily bad if it's something specifically for chemistry or a STEM tool. And then is it scalable? Scalable implementation across departments. That's basically what I was just saying. And then finally, sustainable. So this is something that we face a lot right now. Tools and vendors really have to think about how is their tool going to change to keep up with technology and all the changes we have. Very quickly now, more than ever, tools become obsolete, technology becomes obsolete, and this is something we have to think about. If we're going to put in a huge investment into a tool, we don't want it to be well. And also, what we run into is they disappear, and suddenly we don't have the tool in place after instructors have been using it. So we want to make sure that there's long-term support. We want to make sure that it maintains performance with increasing users. So a lot of times we pilot these tools, or we just start them within our department at digital learning, and suddenly it's going to grow across the campus. We want to make sure that the performance stays the same and the service stays the same. Training, customer service, the documentation that they provide. We want to make sure they can respond to our growth, and we also want to make sure that they stay responsive to emerging technologies. So cost is important, but not the most important. Basically, are the features of the tool worth the cost. We really have to evaluate the return on investment, and we compare with similar tools. Okay, so that was a lot of me talking about the framework and going through it, but that's the basics of what we look at. And then I'm going to turn it over to Amar, who has been a key player in actually building the rubric. Me and Amar worked on a flow chart, which is the next slide. And from this flow chart, she really started building out a rubric for us. And this, I'm trying to think how long it took us to do this. Maybe you can remember, Amar, but I'll turn it over to you and let you go through the mapping and the rubric and how we test it.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So yeah, as we started we started in Miro, and it's basically just like a huge unlimited whiteboard, and it took us like around 8 months or so to like finalize this because we kept going back and forth with trying to identify what do we actually need to do? And at each stage, we end up having like a hurdle, or we come up with like, oh, we need to do this before that, or so on and so forth. So it was like work in progress for all this time. But once we kind of finalize it, and this is in quotation because it's a living document, we were able to create some sort of friendly version, and this is an infographic of it. So this is the current digital learning tool vetting process. And I'm gonna a little bit go through each step by step just to give you an overview of what we were able to find as the most efficient process to get these tools vetted. So starting first with the initial step. So in our initial step, there's an initial form. So like we said, there's an identification of the new tool, whether it's someone from the faculty or our structural designers. In order to assess this tool, there should be an initial form. They will like fill it out, and it will goes into a queue to start the vetting process. We usually use Asana as a tool for which is it keeps track of all the progress that we are going through, especially as our team. So the next step, which is our team, it's the interactive learning team. We kind of assess what is this tool. So part of it is trying to get all the necessary documents from the vendor. So we need to contact them to check if they have a HECVAT or a VPAT, like we talked about. We try to check if there's an existing tool or like similar to it, or the same tool already exists on our LTI, and the LTI exists on our LMS. If it's there or not, we try to figure out if it's free, and so on. So once we have all these in check, we try to assess a tool through our instructional designers. So what happens at that stage is this is like the most collaborative stage where multiple departments are involved. So since this is a collaborative process, we will bring different people and within their strengths to the table. So part of it is with our academic engagement team, we have different instructional designers, and we rotate them through the tool testing process. So we ensure variety of viewpoints as each tool is evaluated against our standardized rubric, which we discussed earlier. So the rubric, and then we ended up creating our own rubric that can test the user experience from not only it goes into all the different frameworks, and we're gonna see it in a bit, but even the rubric itself went through a beta phase for several months. We tested different tools in it, and we have now a finalized version of it. And once this user experience is done, it goes through checking whether like the procurement processing, if we need to pilot this tool. We also, if it needs an LTI, so we go through our IT department or IT to assist with the LTI integration. We at that also we make sure that the vendor provide us a tool demonstration, and if needed, a scheduled training. So, for example, one of the current tools that is going through a pilot and went through this process is Harmonize. So what happens next? So let's say everything is went through all these steps, approved, everything is okay. Then we go to our final stage, which is considering it a top tool for faculty use. And these are the only tools that we are confidently recommending to faculty as digital learning, and we would eventually add them to digital learning website. So this is kind of the whole process, and I'll go through a little bit of case studies that actually some of the tools that went through this process, and how all that worked. So I made a kind of a fun, everyone knows Monopoly, so this is a fun way to talk about our tool in that sense. So I have a couple of tools in here that are going to be our players, and we're going to start with what's Jumpboard. So Jumpboard went in, someone actually went through the initial step, created an initial form for it. We went in as our team, we looked at it. Jumpboard is no longer available, so it goes out of that process. Next thing is comes Preezy. So Preezy also went through the whole process. It went through the accessibility, user friendly, and privacy and security step, which is our rubric, but it's not accessible, or some of its feature is not accessible, so it's also out of the game. Labster went also through the process, but however, it's not system integrated. So what happens in that? We talked about being a collaborative process. So we discuss it with OIT, it's sent to OIT for review, if they approve it or not. If they don't, then it's gone. McGraw-Hill went through, although also had an OIT, was already integrated in the system. We didn't have an issue with that, but it was not free. So then we need to check with our pricing team if it's worth it. Going through the process, like Chris was talking about within our framework. However, with the cost versus value, it wasn't part of or enough for it. So also went out of the process. H5P went through the whole process as well, got LTI integrated, checked with the pricing team, and then we were able to get an effective cost to value. And then we were able to eventually get it as a top tool and it stayed within this process. Our last one is the UT Verse AI Assistant, which is created by UT and OIT. And then at that stage, it also clicked all and check the checklist and was also used as a top tool for recommendation. So this is kind of how the process goes. And as you can see, there's a lot of steps, and at the same time, we make sure like there's also bureaucracy incorporated in it, and we'll talk about it more. However, I just want to let you see what does the tool vetting rubric that the instructional designers work through, and this is just it shows one of the framework that we talked about, which is essential, but it end up having a score where the instructional designer will write their scores. They have any comments for any of the questions that we have, and they will get a final score where we assess for the score and use it to see if it's like worth going into the next step or not. And was developed using all these references, and again, it was like multiple files, and then now it's only one clean one version of it. Um, okay, so we talked about all these tools, but like we said, there's a lot of challenges that went into creating this process. It is a very complicated process. And a lot of it is, like we said, bureaucracy. It's a lot of steps. Sometimes we get stuck on one of the steps, not because of us, but because just it needs time. It needs to go from a department to another. Like, for example, with the harmonized pilot, it was we just needed another extra cybersecurity check. So that's like took several weeks in order to be finalized. So what we found is if we want to try to work on a tool and present it to faculty that they want to work with, and that's why it came into this process at the first place, is to start early, to be flexible and adaptable, even if we realize that we have, an extra like step we need to do and so on. But it's all about communicating with other departments and trying to figure out how we can accelerate the process in the best way for our faculty. So I know, Nikki, you said you haven't worked exactly with this something like this, but does your department have
Yes.
like a process in place, and do you know if they had like any challenges?
I know there is a process in place. I personally have never I haven't like ran across a tool that I would need to get vetted yet. So I'm unsure how it goes, but I was a bit curious to see what it looks like at other universities. So
Yeah, now you see, and now you have an idea of what UT have as a process as digital learning. But yes, if you would like any of the presentation materials, we have it here, even our like version of the rubric and so on. You can scan the QR code for it, and even this presentation itself. And if you have any questions, please let us know.
I think I'm good on my end. It was really insightful though, and I did like the Miro board. I've seen those a few times today, so maybe I'll have my first experience seeing if we can get a tool vetted when it comes to something like that. But
Yeah, we use mirror boards a
uh-huh.
lot. We've Dr. Johnston's used a few different kinds of boards, and I think it became your favorite, right?
Yeah, I use it quite a bit. I teach a couple of online classes a year, so I use it extensively in particular in one of my classes. It kind of become my favorite tool for collaboration. Since it's a fully asynchronous class, it's a great spot uh, for for teams and groups to work together.
Yeah, I use it in my classes too. It's nice for online asynchronous to have like a whiteboard for students to put all their thoughts out there. So,
Yeah, and
well,
it's wonderful when you can check off the boxes that it doesn't, you can get an educational version. So I don't pay anything for the Miro board, which also means at a university, and I'm sure Auburn is the same way, if you don't have to sign a contract for anything, you're miles ahead. It means you could actually use it in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, so I think um, the biggest takeaway for me and Amar, I think, was just how much we've learned by implementing this. Like we did not have any idea what we were getting into when we just wanted to put together some kind of tool vetting where the IDs could test a tool out and see if it's something we wanted to use. And um, But as soon as you start trying to pilot something and put it on into the system, getting the security checks done and the contracts through, and it's a it's a very intricate process. So
Yes.
educational versions are good.
Yes. Well, this is some of the resources we ended up like also using, and if you have any other questions as well, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Mm.
Thank you, and thank you, Bob.
Yeah, well, I want to say first off, I know the University of Tennessee is in Knoxville. I don't know why I said Lexington. Uh, I don't know. The mind is going, I guess.
It's okay.
Uh, yeah,
I
I
was
asked that
previously at
question
University of
about.
Kentucky, so
Yeah, he's from Kentucky, so somewhere maybe you
yeah,
picked that
Okay.
up.
I was previously at the University of Kentucky, so that might have been it. So.
Uh, I asked that question about where the suggestions originate. Um, I've worked with smaller schools time in the past where um, they don't have a whole bunch of instructional designers or so forth, and sometimes, well, I've seen folks in IT decide on a tool for faculty, and that doesn't end up well. Um, IT usually are not faculty to begin with, so they don't understand. And faculty generally don't like to be told you have to use this. Usually their first reaction is, no way, you know? So, and the process you have is really excellent. And uh, it's I saved a link because other people may want to look at it, but uh, yeah, you have to go through that process. I used to have vendors contacting me all the time, wanting to show off their product and so forth, and I never had a formal process, and but still, we had a way of trying to evaluate what if it's accessible, how reliable, kind of support, kind of training needed, and most importantly, if there's something faculty really felt like they needed. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Mm. Yeah, well, thank you.
Well, thank you for having us, Bob, and we hope to see you again on the next one.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys doing this, and this will be very valuable for people to view. So I'm glad you did it, and uh, good luck for the volunteers. I was, I have to say, I'm a Ohio State fan, but there were times I was rooting for the Volunteers. So
Bob,
yeah,
why would you have to bring that up at the end that you're an Ohio State fan? I mean, we were
Right.
getting along, everything was going fine, and then you just had to bring that up at the end.
yeah, yeah. No, I've been watching uh, Tennessee's women's basketball team, and they're pretty good. I was hoping they'd get what was it, Texas the other night, and fell short. So anyway,
Yeah,
enough of that.
yeah.
Thank you guys. I really
Thank you. And
Thank you
appreciate.
very
guys for
nice to meet you,
connecting.
Nikki. Please
Thank
stay
you.
in
It was nice
Thank
touch.
to see
you.
you guys, meet you guys as well.
Yeah, appreciate you. Okay, bye.
Bye.